That's more like it.
Are you ready to start up? Are we ready to start broadcasting?
Okay, that's not going to work all the way through.
Eric, are you ready?
Yeah. I'm going to start on this computer.
Okay. Let me, I'll run the lights down in a second. When you're ready, let me get them seated down here. Boys and girls, would you be good enough to kindly take your seats, please? We'll get started with the second half of the show. Everybody needs to sit down. What's that?
Are we going to do a photo here first before we get to the lights?
Well, if everybody's here.
I just got everybody seated down. Let's do a photo between times so that,
John, when I'm talking, can I get you to zoom in on like the drive and things down here if I need to?
yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, a little change of plan, a little enhancement. This is a wireless microphone. And if someone wants to answer.
Make your essential sacrifice.
It's worth a shot, Al. This too is a wireless microphone. So if somebody wants to ask a question, please raise your hand and we'll pass this over to you. That way everybody in the room can hear you. And me too, because I'm kind of deaf. I can't hear the guys in the front row. Also, people at home will be able to hear it hopefully via the microphone that the speaker is using. Okay? There's a little switch on top. When you switch it on, you'll see a green light. When you're not using it, please switch it off because obviously the batteries go dead. Broadcasting?
Okay, is this mic on?
Okay.
Okay, mic me.
Yeah, let me have your mic for a second.
Mic me up.
I will. We lost the little thing that stops it from getting the wind noise. I'm kind of windy. So, unless you like the projector in your eyes,
You might want to move over here.
2 ways.
Okay, I guess, are we on, John? All right. This is the second half of the Chicago TI International no, let's try that again. This is the second half of the Chicago TI International World Fair. And we have a number of presenters, the first of whom is Eric Olson. So I'm going to get out of his way and mic him up and let him tell you all about what he's got. Whoops, wrong side. I'm sure we can hear you through your beard.
Whoop, you're stealing the microphone. Okay, am I mic'd up? Yep. Yeah, that sounds good.
I hope you're still mic'd up.
Okay, welcome back from lunch. Hope you're not too sleepy. So Hal said, my name's Eric Olson. I go back to the time I found the TI-994A at a demo at Christmas 1981, and soon after 1982 it became a part of my life, and I haven't really gone away. So first thing, I've got 3 things to show today. So first thing I'm going to show you is just using, well, okay, let me back up a little bit. So I think Ted Z is in the audience here. Yeah, so Ted Z's from the Milwaukee area TI users group, and he graciously dropped off their floppy disk library with Owen Brand ways back. And so Owen Brand met up with me at the Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee in April, and we started scanning every single one of the Milwaukee library's floppy disks. So I'm just going to do a quick demo of that. There's a thread on Atari Age for it. We've got the first 180 of them up there. So this is a great way to archive your floppy disk using a product called CryoFlux. It's this little dinky board here. Not sure if it shows, but just go to look up CryoFlux on the internet if you want to see a really good look at it. This is just for the people in the audience here. This little board plugs into your laptop or whatever. So it's connected up to a TI drive we just pulled out of Owen's P box, and I just have an external power supply for that. So you take your floppy, put it in the external drive, and we're going to archive and preserve this disk for all time. As soon as the Dell projector catches up with the command prompt. Okay, so in that terminal there, we have a bunch of chatter from the last attempt. So I just have a little script that runs the CryoFlux command. It's a command line tool, runs the same on DOS or Windows or Mac or Linux, pretty much anywhere. And it's talking to this little USB board. If you were here, you wouldn't hear the drive spinning because this is such a quality drive, it doesn't even make any noise. And when this is done, we'll have a single-sided 40-track, 360-sector image on the disk. And we'll be able to even check that the catalog makes sense. So there's a friendly message from CryoFlux saying, please consider helping us to preserve software. Then I have this little command line tidir command that I wrote. It's a simple C program. And it dumps out the catalog that it just read off of this, 30-year-old floppy disk from the Milwaukee users group, number 287. And there will be a thread on Atari Age for the second block of 180 disks pretty soon, because we're about halfway through the box. So that's floppy disk preservation. This product will work with any of the TI disk formats. I've done them all. I've archived all my 80s disks. Most of them are quite durable. Core comp, MyArch formats, they all read fine. So that's what I wanted to show today. I'll be available in the back if anybody has floppy disks. No? Oh, question. Not my microphone.
Just a quick question on the CryoFlux. When you create these images, what kind of, is it a format that somebody else can use without a CryoFlux?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Okay, so it's a command line tool. There's a whole bunch of output/input format numbers to choose from. You can save as raw format, in which case it's literally the file of the magnetic transitions as the drive head passes, as the disk passes under the drive head. That's the raw format. I'm telling it to just go ahead and write the sector image to the disk. I don't care about the raw format. I just want the contents of the disk. But if you have disks with, say, fancy copy protection, it can preserve that bit for bit. Or you can tell it just write me a simple image, and in my case, I've got it set up to write an image that loads directly into Classic 99 or V99. So does that answer your question?
What about like PC 99 or for the low threads?
Yeah, so that's been solved. I haven't done the Lothric or GoTech versions, but that has been done. And yes, the PC 99 you'd alter the script a little bit, I think, and you'd have you'd use another tool to convert from the DSK to PC 99 format. They're essentially the same information anyway. So yeah, I just have this configured to write directly to disk because that's immediately usable. And yeah, I also I should learn what it takes to do the PC 99 conversion.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving along, my next trick.
Sorry, one question.
Oh, Barry?
What
Barry.
is the average copying time of one disk?
Oh, well, so you saw that it was about a minute and a half to read the 90K disk. It reads.
I have to ask the question again, and then you have to give me
Oh.
the answer again.
Okay, so the question was, how long does it take to read in a disk? You saw it live. It was about less than 2 minutes
Okay.
to read it in. That doesn't vary much for double-sided or double density.
It's faster than any other program that does the same.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty darn fast. Like for me, it's just I got to go through 180 of these things.
The fastest program till now was the program of Fred Kahl, disk to PC. But that's about double the time that you mentioned. Okay.
Okay, so for my next act. Oh, yes, question.
What happens if you get a bad sector?
Yeah, it'll retry a couple of times on it. You have the option of saving the exact, you can use the raw mode and save the exact raw transitions, bad sector and all. And if you're really brave, you go back and try and make some sense out of it. But the software is actually pretty smart already. It makes multiple passes to try and build up a picture of the bad sector to see if it can salvage it. I don't know how it compares to other data recovery software, but it does its best on bad sectors, and it will eventually just give you the disk with the bad sectors blanked out in my usage. So, and I have a log of which things in the published collection had bad sectors and where they were. So you can, read most of it unless the bad sector is sector 0. So does that help? Okay, so I'm going to tell you about a project that I've had going for an interminable amount of time, and it has not seen the light of day until now. So my first programming language was TI Basic. My second programming language was TI Fourth. I wanted to have something more powerful than Basic. I guess Extended Basic is what it actually was. And so when TI dropped the TI Fourth product into the world, a copy fell into my world, and I started learning that, and it gave me more access to all the power of the machine. You can write some pretty fast programs and access all of the low-level details. So that was my second language, and I kind of fell in love with it, and I'll talk my head off about Fourth to anybody ever since then. To the chagrin of my colleagues. I'm a professional programmer, and nobody uses Fourth except online. Anyway, with a fun demo of the of the 4T music card. If anyone's seen this or heard of it, it was a hardware card designed at TI with 4 of the sound chips on it, designed by one TI engineer, and produced in a limited quantity with a nice software system to go along with it. So back in May, I published my first dump on an Atari Age thread of reverse engineering and re-implementing the software that goes with it. And I've been working ever since then on the hardware. So what I'm going to show to you today is mainly the hardware, because I gave the software demo in May and I've forgotten a detail or two. So it's not working real. Anyway, I'm going to show you the hardware today in progress. And this will be a really rough demo because it's not ready for prime time, but it's ready to come out of the bag. If I could get somebody to point the camera at this little blue box here. So I've got a standard 4A console, and I will walk over to this side. Not that there's anything to see on the screen. All right, if it's visible, this little blue box here is my hardware platform. What I have there is a connector which I stole from the CF7. I have to say this project started when my CF7 broke and I tore it apart for parts, but I have a custom board on the end of that little cable that interfaces the 5-volt world of the 4A from the 1980s to modern 3.3 volt chips. So I've got one custom board of my own design in the bottom of this blue box stack, and that allows me to use modern TTL chips like from 1991 onward. And that board on the bottom is essentially implementing a quick serial interface up to this. This is an FPGA prototype board that I have to work with. Those are becoming common among hobbyists. You've all heard of the really big projects that are going on based on FPGA boards, like Eric Peel's efforts, and the F18A is an FPGA from Xilinx, and so on. So there's been a lot of those efforts. Well, this is mine. This is a little $55 board, which I think is super powerful, and it's based on an entirely open source tool chain. So that appeals to me as well. And the really exciting thing for me about this was that its designer and its first program for it and its native environment is Forth. So this little box I have loaded on you essentially type a command and it loads a Forth CPU onto here. It's based on a Forth CPU that has flown in multiple space missions, most recently the Philae Comet lander. So there's that little bit of excitement about it. So I've been playing with that. I've used this to implement the 4D music card hardware, and I'm going to just show you a few little glimpses under the hood. That's just the first application so far. Is the 4A on? No. Okay, now we have the 4A on. And I need to power up my board this second. Okay. All right, so what you're seeing here is I brought my whole home lab with me. For those who have no interest in the internals of the 4A, this is currently everything going on the address bus of the 994A. So it's what's known as a logic analyzer. And I'm just going to hit the start button over here on this console. So as a final product, what I'm envisioning is this little blue box plugging into the side of the 4A. Or I met up with Jedi Matt, and he says, well, why don't you make it plug into the connector that I use for the Tippy? So I'm doing that. It's already ready to go. No change. So this could plug into your 32K sidecar or Tippy and work with that, no problem. Where was I? So what I've done is I've just flashed the software up to this little blue box. Normally it would have everything stored permanently in flash memory, and just you plug it into the 4A, turn on the power, and it's there ready to go. But since I'm making changes every 5 minutes, like yesterday at Chai Friday, it's not flashed in there yet. So at this point, the little box is listening to the 4As, sending commands out to memory, and it'll function as a device on the address bus and realize it's being talked to and intercept that. Right now, it is just trying to emulate the sound chip. The 4D card works by putting 4 sound chips in the P box, and they see the writes to the sound chip. It's just that they recognize a couple of extra addresses beyond just the original sound chip in the TI. So you can address each of them separately or all together. And so my device is implemented in software, so really the sky is going to be the limit on what I can make it do. And for now, it's just in the startup state, which is the typical kind of random tones you hear when you start the foray. And it sounds like this. So just random note. If I were the intention is that you'll be able to access this device both from Forth as well as TI Basic, which is not too hard to add to it. Just add some basic call subprograms. So you'd be able to type like call sound and it would make sounds on it. But I envision other things like call sound 2 that has extra parameters. And one of those is the ability to change the waveform or timbre of the sound. So if you know the TI sound chip is it's the simplest sound chip possible. It only makes square waves. I'll show you one of those on the scope in a second. But in this device, it's moving up in technology to be like a 1990 Casio keyboard. So it has a wavetable capability, and I'm able to change the timbre of that to make other sounds like this. So this is without any modulation on it. That's the same tone, but in a violin sample. It can be changed to a sine or a square, a triangle, or a sawtooth wave. I can load samples from the Commodore 64 on there if I want to. There's an excellent free sample library of that. So it's just wide open what I could make it do, but I intend to smush it into a ready-to-consume package that has some features that are just a couple steps above what you had with the 4A sound chip and can be accessed from pretty much any programming language. For example, you could go to BASIC and type a call sound to change the voice of, switch it to the wavetable mode, and then go play Munchman, and you would hear Munchman in that altered sound chip flavor. So I'm really eager to see what that ends up sounding like. And really, once I get everything working flawlessly, which I find about 3 bugs a day in my code, once I get to that point, it'll develop rapidly, and I'll start posting things on Atari Age and YouTube about it. One more thing I'd like to show is just a little bit of what I can do with this. I've been standing in front of my oscilloscope this whole time. This is again, I brought my whole laboratory with me. So that the blue traces are all things inside the 4A. The red trace is a oscilloscope trace. It's useful for a lot of things. In this case, I'm just going to plug the audio connector into my audio output from my board. And so there's what. All right, so one thing we're dealing with here is the time scale. We were looking at things on a less than 1 microsecond scale just there, because that's your 4A has a 3 megahertz processor in it, so events happen on the hundreds of nanoseconds time scale. That's less than a microsecond. So the grid blocks were scaled to a microsecond. I've just scaled them up to 1 millisecond, which is better for audible sound waves. So that red wave is the violin sample that we're hearing right now. And if I were to switch it back to the standard TI square wave, it would, you can just imagine it would be a boring up and down walk. So that red thing is the simple wavetable. If you like, you can obtain any of those off the internet, and I envision typing them in a TI basic call, like call sound char, for example, pattern after call char, and you just play around with entering a wavetable that you want your call sound to emit. So that's some of the big ideas. There's a lot more, which is just not ready for prime time yet. One of those is the 40 package came with a couple of disks of source code. This is one of them from 1983 or 4. And unfortunately, I got a copy of this in 1985 and neglected to copy the back side of the floppy disk. So I did not have any of the source code to 40. What I had was the compiled version, so I reverse engineered it this year. And the user manual is out there, so I re-implemented everything I saw in the user's manual to work alike. So what I have is essentially a clean room implementation of it. I misplaced some of my instructions, and when I ran the demo today, it didn't run. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to embarrass myself in front of this audience. But I will be making YouTube videos because it's almost ready for prime time, and those will be posted on Atari Age when they're ready. So like once as I said before, what I can do when I get this platform working is it's totally open-ended. This will be my hardware development platform. I envision being able to put it on the market for about $99. So this little blue box with all the electronics in it in a finished working form will be about $99. And it'll be a sidecar peripheral that works with the current crop of peripherals we see, like the 32K and the Tippy. So yes. Yeah, it'll have a pass-through, so you can keep on plugging them in. Yeah. That was I did show this to Greg McGill and Jedi Matt back in May, and they encouraged me to make it work that way. So that was cool. I was glad they were receptive. Okay. So any other questions besides Waleed? Oh, Waleed had asked if it will have a pass-through connector.
So do you play files from the Commodore SID chip?
I don't know about files. I have no idea how much work it would be to do that. So the question was, can you play Commodore SID chip files, like mod files, I assume. I'm really not totally familiar with that. I know almost nothing. That would be a software application that you could do with this. I would love to work on that. But since I've already grabbed the wavetables of samples of the SID chip, you could come kind of close to reproducing them, but it's not trying to be a SID chip purely. Yeah. Like I said, I know the TI sound chip and a lot of other synthesizer hardware, but I just don't know the Commodore SID chip. I listen to a lot of SID music. If anyone's heard of 8-Bit Weapon, they're a Commodore 64 SID chip band. Yeah.
All I was going to say is that we have actually a SID application that runs on our stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And to do that, we had to buy the Commodore SID chip, but surprise, surprise, they're no longer made. And they're almost impossible to find, but there's just like one guy that does sell them. And there were two versions, it was like an 8580 and 8581, I can't remember the numbers. But the one was supposed to be the later and the better one, but it actually somehow performed worse than the 8580. So we implemented the 8580, because you have to be careful which chip you go for, it's all. Yeah.
Owen Brand was gracious enough to bring me the SID Master card to see and look at. So yeah, I was really happy to see the real thing finally. But yeah, I don't have any real expertise with that. Okay.
There's also a website that this guy's name is something like Peter Craig Hill, and he has converted hundreds of Commodore discs. Commodore music discs.
Okay.
And they're technically public domain, but you normally have to apply for permission and stuff, so we got permission from him to reproduce this massive library of Commodore SID discs.
Yeah, I think that is a tremendous contribution that stands on its own. Yeah, that's not really what I'm trying to do. So it's kind of similar, but yeah, I'm interested in bringing back the 40 music system as it was described in the manual, and then putting a bunch of original things into it.
I think also we provide the 40 manual.
Okay.
And I think we have the discs.
Yeah,
Maybe the backside.
I'm eager to get actual discs for it because I found the schematics in the manual online. They're in WH Tech, have been, but not the source discs. But on the other hand, it was actually pretty educational being forced to reverse engineer from the compiled version and re-implement it clean from the manual. So I can't say I regret doing that. Okay, any other questions?
I'll have to add the board to my list of boards to re-engineer from the original
Yeah. Somebody could do the actual PE board. It's not a super difficult project. I started off thinking I would do that, and I went to, tackling something that I really, really wanted to learn. But yeah, if you were to build a PE box card with the 4 sound chips on it, you could start tinkering with that, change the clock frequency, add little modifications like that. It'd be a really fun first hardware project for somebody.
Well, I've got the PEP board and I've got some prototype boards, so I'm going to try and make sure that it gets
Yeah, I think Jim's doing just that.
life.
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay, and I will provide new software upgrades. Oh, I guess apropos to Lee being here, I'm moving everything I'm still using the original TI 4th environment, which is the one blinking here. I'm moving everything to FB 4th starting now. So that'll be the platform that I guarantee published code will work with. And everything I'm doing will be open source. So anybody will be able to tinker with it. Okay. So.
Are you the same Eric Olson that wrote the save program to save everything? Like he hates?
Yeah.
Right?
My past is catching up with me.
What is it called?
Mine was called Super Save.
Super Save.
Yeah. I got a lot of $10 bills in the mail for that from the ad in Micropendium, the listing in Micropendium, people asking for the Super Save disk. It lets you do things like, so I had all of the object files for the Congo Bongo cartridge on a floppy disk, and it was like you had to type in 27 file names to load the game. And so I wrote Super Save so that it would load them in once, and then irregardless of the limitations of TI's save utility, it would just do the job of saving out the memory, and so you could just load a program file. That was a fun utility disk. Okay, so we need to make room for the next presenter. Thank you. Oh, come on, I was a teenager. I was saving $10.
Okay, thank you. We're going to take a 2-minute so we can set up the next equipment. And in that time, we'd like everybody to gather at the end of the room here so that Barry can get the picture that he uses to immortalize this group. We will turn the camera around so that everybody at home, and there are quite a few people watching, can see what we're doing down there in the meanwhile. And then Mike, if you're ready, we'll swing that table around and get you all set up for your demo. And Eric, you'll go on right after Mike. So if you need to set up any equipment, you can do it at the same time we're swinging that table around. Then everybody will go back. We'll take the picture. Okay? And I'm just going to leave this here right now. Probably here. It's got to reach projector. It's got to reach the projector. The outlets are on the back, so I guess swing this around. Do you need to swing your table too?
Yeah, we're gonna need to.
Oh, okay. Then you can't do anything until Mike has done his, I guess. Right. Okay. Well, pick it up. Can we get a couple of big husky guys to help with the table, please? And we'll set up. Good question. Ask Mike where he needs to be to reach the projector. He's got a page on the desktop.
Somebody hold the computer itself, so it doesn't roll off.
I'll just stand here and supervise.
That's okay, you can stand there and produce.
I'm about that ready. This is a really nice one. Is it?
And now that needs to plug into power over here.
I need one of these.
Don't run away.
These go to the computer.
Do you need sound?
It's round a wire. Round. So that goes with,
Run it right through. Up there. How long you gonna need to set up?
those 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. I'll get everybody back there and then you guys come back and.
This microphone?
Yes.
Really?
Mic you up as soon as
So
Okay.
I've got that one plugged in.
So take that cable in, replace it.
Oh, you want the monitor's cable plugged into that?
Whatever came,
yeah. The software demo and.
whatever came from that box.
Yep.
Goes with the monitor and
And I've already got that.
so this goes round its way probably.
To this VGA connector? Okay.
I thought he said it
That's
went
a
on the end.
monitor out.
Huh?
That's a monitor out connection, so it should work.
You're gonna,
Need to power up.
yeah. You need to switch it.
Don't get too comfortable because I'm gonna have to run you in the back and get your picture.
I understand.
How much time are you gonna need now?
5 minutes.
5 minutes more. Because I can't get everybody back there and have them stand for 5 minutes, that's for sure. I had experience in
I
that.
lost all my headphones and all.
I know.
That's it?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Wow, that was good. Sucking your skirt.
Is the video showing? Yeah, it is.
Hey, Alan, you see anybody sitting over here? I don't see anybody sitting over here. Smells so
Oh, it's the wrong fucking resolution.
Making drugs.
You don't have anything probably just.
Okay, so what resolution do you want?
Yeah, I think it's back to the chain, I think, fuck it up there, I think.
Oh,
I think
you're right.
that's the maximum that he can do. It doesn't really matter, I don't think. What's this saying?
I just right click.
Like I lost all my bloody icons and ordered it, I don't know where they are. What do you think of that?
Technology is so cool.
I noticed that it seemed to be running really slow. Who's doing that at my house?
Maybe I should change the executive?
None of the executable shouldn't be running any slower.
You know, the original PCR.
Have you, I mean, you changed the directory, but have you tried to launch the exe?
I am, I'm doing it right now.
Oh,
It's always been. Very good.
that's crazy. Yeah, you can try changing the executable back. Oh, you've got the Pico card in there.
So I just went back for a short visit.
Even that program's taking a long time to come up. What's that? Stuck here? Did you want to disable the feedback? Did you want to disable the feedback?
And then I send them to the library. I'll discover that I can't renew something. Because my library is expired. Last time that happened,
A group picture.
Yes, I understand.
We can't make a group picture without you.
It's not my fault, I know. Only about 2 minutes. Where's the, where's the suite?
Next one up. There you go.
How can I get one? And that's how it's like, that's the question of trying to get. Who can I give this to? As soon as I find
May I have your attention, please?
Wait a minute, let me get the
Come
mic.
forward for the group picture of this meeting. And for those 4 people.
Barry is jonesing for a picture, and ladies, we need you in there. We need to swell the numbers. Come on. You can take your nigger with you. It's okay. All right, everybody, get in line over there. Barry will tell you where. Don't, Jim, come back here.
So we help Barry. I'm capturing Caesar.
Oh, yeah, get him in there.
And I'm releasing the dragon. Get some of the stage.
I'll get a volunteer.
More from the back.
One or two more there.
I'm just gonna stick this in here.
You need a tripod? brother?
Oh, you should be on the contrast. I'm taking pictures.
Why don't you two sit here, and you can sit next to each other?
Is that too much, too wide a picture? Go on that chair.
Oh, that
Get
way.
Hal in there?
We are missing, what, Jim and
Okay, you make pictures for us?
Yes, he's
Oh,
going to
wonderful.
take the picture for us.
Okay, I will sit there.
Yep.
Sit on
Hey,
that.
sit here.
Actually, where's your dad? Where's your dad?
He went out there looking for you. There's Alan. Boy, are you gonna be in trouble? Haven't seen Jim back.
He's looking for him.
Stay here. Stay here.
Don't worry, the trouble won't be.
Is your sketch still with him?
No, sit down.
Okay.
Now you have a sign that says TI 36, get the sign and hold it up.
Hey, Caesar, up front there, buddy. Come on in, brother.
Okay, let's line up alphabetically by size.
I know, so I was a mess.
Come on.
I'm gonna sit down.
You got everybody in there?
Here.
I'll sit in Gary's lap. Where are the ladies?
Come on, sit down here on the floor.
Ladies should be,
Yeah.
ladies should be sitting in the front here.
In the green, can you move this way a little bit? No, in the green.
Busted V.
Yes.
We have to, V is.
She's still hot.
She'll just move.
Okay, everybody, come on, we can do this.
All right, blue, just a little bit blue. Okay.
Come on,
Four,
Luke.
five there. On three. I'm gonna take like three pictures. 1, 2, 3. On three. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. That's the first thing.
Yes, you move.
Oh, here was a good time for a second.
No pictures, no comments. I have no recollection of anything.
I don't know if I have an email.
Thank you so much for your help.
No problem. On three. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. One. 1, 2, 3.
One more thing. Everybody's got to do a vacuum.
What? What about it?
Yeah.
On three. 1, 2, 3. On three. 1, 2, 3.
You think it's good flag shoot?
Yeah.
And one break. 1, 2, 5.
Now everybody turn around.
Thank you very much. Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much.
3 is the number of the company.
While everybody is in a good mood, let's get back in our chairs because we've got the next demo coming up right now.
The counting of 3.
Right now.
Charlie good there?
Okay, I know there's gonna be questions.
We may have.
Stop. Good.
The guys on the internet are having fun.
What's that?
The guys on the internet are having fun.
Oh, that's good. Get down here, we're gonna mic you up. Okay.
Dancing Queen.
I have to steal that back for a second. Everybody ready? Bob? Jim? Come on up. Are we live? Uh-oh. Have a seat. Have a seat. Oh, it's working. Yeah, this is only going out over the internet. This one. The other one's going in the room. Again, if you have a question, I'll pass around the mic, the wireless mic, so that everybody can hear it. Eric, come on up and join us. You want to see this. I guarantee it. All right, our next presenter is Mike Wright, who has graciously come back to see us again after a small absence of a few years. But he has something very exciting to show you. Mike and Eric.
Okay, is it working? Yeah. Good. This will be one of the worst demos you've ever seen for, unfortunately, a couple of aging reasons. One, my eyesight is like gone really bad, and two, my comprehension is starting to go away. So if I miss stuff or do stuff wrong, etc., I've got Eric here to try and tell me what I can't see on the screen and where I have to move my mouse. So you're going to need some patience if you don't mind. Okay. So first of all, we represent CAD Electronics. That's Eric Firestone and myself. And we produce two basic products. One is a product called CAD PC99 Suite, which I'm going to sort of show you parts of now. And the other product is a new hardware product. And I suppose I can steal the thunder. Why not? I've got to do something right. We have a new hardware product which is called CAD 995C. And the 995C means I'm a 99. The 5 means 4, we're 5. And the C means CAD. So you'll see the CAD 995C. What it is, it's a single board implementation of everything that you see here. Okay, so we supply documentation for our products. And this is the introductory thing. But see, my screen is like distorted, but it's okay. So this is the information you get with the suite. And it tells you all about everything you're going to do. So, the background. So this started with Mark Van Coppenol many years back and evolved into this the Windows version. So many years back, CAD had a product called PC99 itself, but we changed the name to PC99 DOS, which means it runs under DOS, and none of this command prompt Windows stuff or anything else like that. It's DOS, right? So what happens is we still supply that as a product. As part of this product, we supply that. But in order to run it, you have to use this program called DOSBox. You familiar with that? DOSBox. So that's okay. But okay. So what does this suite consist of? It consists of a program called PC99W, which implies the PC99 has been upgraded to run in Windows, and it's a full 32-bit Windows thing. It'll run. It runs, believe it or not, I tested this just the other day. It runs on 98, 2000, XP. What came after XP? Sorry, no Vista. Didn't test Vista. And Windows 7 and Windows 10. No NT, never tested NT. So it runs across all of those natively, right? So if you have an emulator, here is my theory. My theory is that you need to be able to tell the emulator what to do. There are two choices. You can either build the stuff into the emulator and then have yards and yards and yards of code that is going to be difficult to maintain, and, well, it's going to just be harder to keep going. Or you can have a separate program, which we call a config program, and the config program lets you change the way the emulator works, right? And what does that mean? It means that, for example, today I need to run a TI controller because there's a special program that runs only with a TI controller. But for most work, I want to run a microcontroller. So in real life, what you would do is you would open the box, right? Take out the TI controller and plug in the microcontroller and hook it all up again and go. In here in the config program, you would say, I want the TI controller out of there, and I want the microcontroller in there. And then when PC99 starts again, it knows the new configuration, it knows how to work and things like that. So you can change memories, different kinds of memory. You can have SAMS memory, you can have MIAC 512K memory. You can enable certain cards, like for example the P-code card. All of the things that we supply, those come with the product. But to change the way the emulator works, you need to use the config program, okay? Then we have this thing down here called PC99 WDU, supposed to stand for Disk Utilities. Now what these are, it's a standalone program, and what it does is it lets you look at disks. And what does that mean? That means, for example, the simplest thing in the world you could do on a disk is to do a catalog. So you only do a catalog. After you've done a catalog, you'll get a listing of the files on the disk. Then we have all sorts of really nice things in there, like you can say, for example, I only want to see EA5 files, or I only want to see EA3 files, or I only want to see display variable 163 files. So you can choose to see which files you want to see. If you double click on a file inside when it's rendered, we will try to, quotes, render the file, right? So for example, if you click on a TI basic file, we will render it to TI basic from the token code, okay? If you click on an EA5 file, you can get a disassembly of it if you want. Not much you can do. So we also have the ability to look at the files and try and guess what they are. Mike Dodd wrote this program called Seek, like you could run his program against a disk and he would tell you what kind of files were on the disk. I can't think of the name. So we do that in the disk utilities. The disk utilities also allow you to import and export files. And if I might say, at this point in time, somebody stole from CAD the DSK appendage to the file name, right? CAD originated that, and it's like ours. But what happens is some person or persons, I've got to be careful in case they're in the room, some persons or persons unknown decided to call stuff from V99 of various things .dsk files. So now you have two DSK files. And the number of calls I get from people saying, oh, that's just DSK file. Yes, it doesn't work because it's not in CAD format. In the CAD format, we include on the disk all the intersector information, right? So, for example, that means you can run things like advanced diagnostics on a CAD file disk. Now, what most people do is they say, oh, that information is irrelevant, we don't care about it, let's get rid of it. There's some heavy proponents of that. I just don't agree. But what you can do with the other stuff is that they give you a sector file, right, which is essentially a number of sectors that came off the disk. I believe that most of the sectors that came off the disk are pulled off in a sector order, which is not the order of the sectors that are on a real TI disk because of the interlace, right? So we also emulate the interlace as well and stuff like that. So, but what we will do is we will take a file from somebody that is a quotes DSK file, and we'll import it to a PC99.disk file. So why do we change the format of the PC99 disk file? Because up until last count, we had transferred approximately 17,900 TI disks from here to here. Now, I think it was Eric Olson was up here, and he had this nice piece of hardware and stuff for doing stuff. From day one, right, first version of PC99 DOS, CAD offered a system which we thought was absolutely critical, because what's the point of having an emulator and nothing to emulate with? If you've got this really nice TI disk over here and you want to put stuff into the emulator, how do you get it there? So from the very beginning, CAD delivered these things called read-write sector. They're two utilities. They run under EA5. One runs on the PC, one runs on the real TI. You connect them on the serial line, or in modern day parlance, since no PC has a serial line anymore except Faire, then you can use a USB to serial converter. And so
what happens is we take the entire disk and transfer it. And why must you transfer the entire disk? Because there are programs like XP Detective that have to be at the beginning of the disk. If you go to an XP Detective disk and you write stuff onto that onto that disk, and then you copy the disk file by file, what happens is XP Detective will not run on the system because it has to be the first, even though it's not alphabetically in the first, right? It's a little piece of copy protection, I guess. So, also with the disk utilities, you can take any of the files and print them to the screen. So if you have a display variable ADI file or a TI writer file, you can just say, take this, and you can call the PC printer. So like at home, I have some LaserJet thing that has PostScript, right? So I can just sort of say, send this to the PostScript printer and out of my stuff. So the disk utilities will also let you compare disks and do all sorts of other stuff. I don't think there's going to be time, but I could show you all of this stuff, right? But just to get an idea. So that's what the disk utilities do. What's this? Oh, the psych. I should probably mention this. The psych represents about 30 years worth of work, and it attempts to provide the owner with everything useful that they should know about the TI. Somebody, again, must be a really good guy. Eric Olsen sort of did this 40 card, right? Well, guess what? On the psych, there's the actual original 40 manual. It tells you how to operate the original. I think the original was done by Don Bynum. Is that right? Anyway, so or he pushed it through. He pushed it through TI somehow when he was into engineering. So anyway, so we give you the information on how to use the 40 card and things like that. So when you buy his stuff, right, you can immediately know how to use the card. Easy part. Somebody was here earlier on asking about Forth, and what happens is you want to know. The question asked was, how do I learn about Forth? And the answer was Brody, right?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Thank you. Paying attention there. So Brody, right? What happens is you have to be careful with Brody because you have to get the first edition. If you get the second edition, it's total crap. It doesn't sync up with anything that TI did, right? So Brody's first edition was released to the public domain, so we took it and brought it in here. So there's a TI Forth manual with corrections and updates and various other things that were made. And along with that too, because we have an agreement with the FB Forth man, we are allowed to deliver FB Forth, although we're only version 2.9. But our ROMs are in the right order. Somebody asked that question. How are the ROMs going to be? They're in the right order to be loaded into the stack given according to the 6000, 6002 and that stuff. We also deliver an actual copy of Lee's hardware manual. That's probably, so we'll have to change that. I started to incorporate TI Forth stuff and find power in TI Forth. Leave it to the horse's mouth, direct from him if you want to run FB Forth. Done. Okay, what else have we got? Oh, and of course, all TI manuals that are known to exist or have, by some fluke, passed my observation at some point in time. So that means everything that every module manual, every diskette manual, every, so PhD, 5001, 5002. Somebody asked me today if we had Gestion Privé, which is some foreign language version of one of the TI things. And then we have also like the worst ones of all. In fact, believe it or not, I only finished it the other day. It was the Scholastic Spelling, because those aren't manuals. Those are like kids' toys, paste-up things. Have you ever looked at those things? They're absolutely dreadful. But anyway, I finally finished that thing. And then just the other day, thanks to this friend of mine in England, Stephen Shaw, I was able to pick up this unbelievably rare module, a picture of called Advertiser. And Advertiser, I'd never seen it. I knew about it. It was in the list of various other things. So the site also contains lists of all known TI hardware and their PHM numbers and their dates of release, and some people care about that. But it also contains a number of libraries, of disk libraries. And the first one to come onto the site was the Boston Computer Library. And I don't know how many of you remember the name Peter Hoddy, but Hoddy was really quite proud of this library. He always thought it had a certain, I don't want to say British because that's not good, it had a certain New England feel about it. There was like good quality stuff. And that was the first thing transposed to PC99. And as time went by, we picked up other libraries, and just, I guess maybe 10, 12 weeks ago, I somehow re-encountered the infamous Dr. Charles Good. And I said, you know what? I've just realized that after all these years, we haven't looked at the Lima library. And he said, well, of course, I've got it all. And you know, technically, the library is on WH Tech, right? Oh yeah, don't need this CAD crap. We just go to WH Tech and download it. But if you download the stuff on WH Tech and look at the files, there are many files that contain errors. There are also many files that are missing, right? And so I contacted Charles and I said, missing files. And Charles said, you going to Chicago this year? And I said, yeah, going to struggle. And he said, I'll just bring him. So I have this nice task when I get home now of taking the Lima library and updating it to get all the stuff that was sort of not working properly and missing. And in addition to just, if you go to WH Tech and just download the library and get the file, you have this really kind of hard to read sort of file or something like that, whereas it's been redone in a PC99 way, and it has nice headers and all kinds of stuff, and then comments on some of the files. And the idea is to be able to comment every file, because most of the time just looking at file names is not useless. So you get thousands of disks included with a psych in PC99 format. What else we got? Oh, and then the original program that was done, the original CAD program was PC99, now being called PC99 DOS to differentiate it, right? This is, as it was, contains a few modifications for running with this stuff here, but this allows you to actually run PC99 DOS if you have DOSBox, right? You can bring it up and do stuff. And I can probably show you something of that too. What's next? Huh?
P99 assembler.
Oh, and then all the utilities that came with that. So, for example, if you're running PC99 and you wanted to say what's on a disk, we gave you this utility called distdir, and distdir said, show me what's on the disk. And it could do other things as well. It could even read Pico disks properly, you know, for the extra headers and stuff. And then what happens is some of those utilities have been ported natively to Windows x64. You can use those, or you can use the disk utilities itself, which is a separate program, which does all the equivalent stuff as well. So we rewrote some of those. What is? And then what is this? Oh, this is the compiler? The assembler. Okay, so there was this really brilliant guy some years back called Al Beard. Don't know how many know him or saw him. He wrote Fortran for the 4A. Wow. And then he also wrote this thing called the A99 assembler. And you can go to a command prompt on the PC, open a file like in Notepad or something like that, write in 9900 code, and store it out, and then you can use Beard's assembler to assemble it. And then we have a way of reading that file into PC99W, so you can actually now become you don't actually have to depend on the editor assembler. Although that's not my sort of, feels kind of like shifty, I don't know. So anyway, but Beard's stuff works really well. We had to make a couple of modifications to his assembler to make everything correct and run sort of thing, so that you get delivered the assembler. You also get delivered the assembler dock that was modified for his stuff as well. And then finally we get this thing called the launcher. And what this does is, this is for people who are terrified of the command line. You can take this little window and put it up there, and all the stuff will be up there, and you can click, click, click. But I don't know how to use that, I never do. So this is what you get with the suite. What's this?
Requirements.
Oh, how to install that. I won't go through that. So what happens is when you buy the product from us, and unfortunately you have to pay money, and most people just walk away at this point. But the product is $49, right? And for the amount of work and stuff that's gone into that, I can't tell you how much this $49 is worth. But with the $49, you get all of this, right? Plus, you can go to the CAD website, and if you want to, you can do what we call a digital download. So you don't have to get a CD or a USB stick from CAD anymore. You can, if you want to, you can order it, but most people are now seeming to opt for the digital download. So you go to the website, you click, and you pay with a MasterCard, or Visa, is it? Visa or MasterCard, and the product is delivered to you. And after that, it's highly recommended that you join a CAD PC99W group on Yahoo. Because what we do there is we post updates and we post other information and bug lists if we find bugs, and obviously the updates. So CAD also maintains an FTP site, and we give you the FTP site information, and you can log into FTP, and approximately every 2 to 3 months, as material is added mostly to the site or changes are made to PC99, you can go there and get the new stuff, and so you maintain it up to date at all times. And I regret to say that not everybody who buys the product goes to the website, not the website, the group, because you really are missing a lot if you do not log into the group. Because you can also make comments like, "You're a bunch of dummies," or this, blah, blah, blah. You know, we take it all. So. I hate this thing. Is this out?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what the config utility looks like. It's written in VB6, runs in Windows 10. You need to install it'll install a VB6 run for you, and these are the things you can do. So you can do things like, for example, I want to change the console. I didn't mention the thing. Where's the video?
Overlays, video display, ROM scrolls.
Okay. So, for example, let me make this big. Where's that here? Yeah. So, for example, one of the things you can do is sort of say, well, what kind of video processor do I want in the system? And we emulated 9938 and all the G registers or whatever this magic is, and also the 9918A. We're close to considering putting in an F18A, but we're not sure about what is it, the legalities of this. I think the F18A is a chip that anybody can emulate, but there's been some stuff done for the TI. How does it work?
Matthew Haggerty, the guy who does the code.
Yeah.
You just have to contact him for permission to use his code base. For the chip, because he's done the same thing with another emulator to allow them to use his code base in there. So that's an easy fix.
Easy? Okay. But you see what you can do here, you can set the size of the video screen to be different sizes for what you want, so that you can change that. What's this? This is what I'm going to show. So peripherals. So we have this concept of this is your P box, right? And in the P box you can put 8 things like you can in the TI. Actually, software-wise, you can make this a 30-slot T box, but I don't think you run out of stuff. And what you do is you select from this list, and you and you put this stuff into it populates over here, and it populates the CRU addresses and all the other stuff, right? And then what happens is when you try to write it out, it'll check to see that you have a legal P box, because in a P box you can't stick in a TI-32K and a SAMS card. Don't work, right? So this will check your CRUs and do all kinds of nice things for you, hopefully. So you see, like right now up here, I have asked it to have the P code card in slot 7, right? So I'm going to exit from here because this is okay. And then I'm going to come. Too many. Okay, emulator failure. What's happening?
P-code card's initializing.
Ta-da! How many people have seen this? Ever seen a Pico?
I recognize the beeps.
The beeps. Actually, without the beeps, you get really scared. Right. So one time when you want them. So this is a P-code card emulation. And I loaded some disks in here. So for example, if I say F for filer, I can say the long directory of #4:. Everybody knows how to do this, right? Simple P-code stuff, yeah? So the P-code card's working. But the reason this is showing up on the screen and all that stuff is because in the slots thing, I said I want to have a P-code card, right? So if I get out of here now, where's config? I go back to the config. Peripherals. So take me back to the slots, and I select this guy here as 2. Where is it there?
Yep.
Where's none? At the top.
Yep. Down a little bit. There you go.
Oh no, I've got it up. And it's slot 2. Where's 2?
There are no numbers there. There you go.
Okay. Okay. So now what happens, I've changed the configuration of the machine. I need to change the ini file for it. It's going to tell me, okay, all of these peripherals are going to be now part of your new system. And that's okay, that's okay. And then I can say, get out of here. I can say, get out of here now. Close. And I can say, exit and launch PC99. So now I'm back to a regular TI system, right? And this one that happens to have a diagnostic test. This is the old second module. So now you can go and run your diagnostic test. So the config program lets you change almost virtually every parameter to do with the system, including the size of the screen, the speed, the video processor, which cards are in the box, things like that. Very useful to be able to handle stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to show you one last thing.
Mike, we have a question from New York.
Yeah.
First of all, first question is, what was the group again on Yahoo Groups for updates, etc.?
It's PC9. Well, the thing is, it's not available to. I hate to say it like this. It's not available to the public.
Customers. I see. And the second from the same person, Ronald Van Bern, says I changed laptop, but cannot locate my install USB to install CAD PC99 again.
He can't install it. He can't find the USB port.
Apparently changed.
Then if he's a customer, he has a customer record, right? If he emails us, then what happens is, depending on what it is, we'll either give him a digital download, which will be probably quicker and easier, or if he wants to pay like $5, we'll send him a new USB stick or whatever. What am I trying to do? Okay, so these are the disk utilities. By the way, all of the screens and the utilities, the stuff like this, they're all, what's the word, scalable, I think it is, right? So here's a list of stuff, and this is going to be awkward. So, because we're running the P system, we have a Pascal disk in what's name, right? Sucker. But what you could do is say, I want to see this as a P system disk. And see the difference? It actually shows you the P system, the genuine P system files. On a P system disk, TI, the trick that TI used was to fool the disk controller into believing the disk was full, and writing a single header file called Pascal at 718 sectors, or 358. And but this is the actual internal the P files and stuff. So this is all.
Mike?
Yo.
Do you also read the controlled data format that they used for the Plato disks?
Oh, because of the
Because those also put the disk's header in a different
because
place.
of also the sector 358, it's in the wrong place. The answer is yeah, but you don't have to worry about that because we deliver all the Plato disks. Oh, actually, wasn't it over here somewhere? Was there a Plato thing here? Yeah, is that there?
Yep, that's it.
So if there was a Plato disk in here, this code would know how to go and read the sector, whatever it was at 358, and then figure out how to do it. But yeah, and then you get $1 and $2 and all that stuff, right? So I'm trying to find a regular disk here. Oh, CAD delivers was the thing. You see the stuff down here, FMT21 and FMT22. These are blank disks, right? And I'm 99% certain that this is true. When somebody in Germany, probably somebody in the Netherlands, probably Fred Carl, with PC99 disc formats, right? And how can I say? Really, stuff. We're not like John Phillips, right? And what happens is we sent him the source code to read and write a sector. I think that's enough. Read and write. That's all you really need to do is read and write a sector. I think we sent him the source code for that in C and in Visual Basic, and I think Fred used that stuff. So it was Eric Olson again. You were asked. Somebody asked you about do you support PC99 format? No, the answer was no. But the answer is if you wanted to. A simple email, we could probably send you the stuff if you wanted to do it.
Oh, it's not my software.
Oh.
I just wrote it to run the Fireflux.
Oh, okay, but
there's a lot more that could be done to.
But somebody did say that somebody did ask about PC99 format, right? So it's like I'm just trying to file the what's this? That's not good. I need to find the fucking disk. Come on. Where's PC99 disk?
You want the PC99? Right there.
Where?
PC99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the disk that gets delivered with CAD, and I wanted to check. Is there a false? Yeah. You see this? That's why I asked, because when Mark van der Garpenel was working on this product, he found tremendous problems using the save utility from the EA, right? And he came along and he said he'd heard of this really brilliant guy, Eric Olson, that had done all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. And he said he said not only that, it's free because it's a micropendium, free in micropendium, or his Fairware, or whatever it was. And I think he must have sent you the money or whatever it was. And therefore somehow he organized this so we actually deliver this with our product. And I mean, I hope that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Okay.
It's totally awesome.
If this is on record somewhere, right, God, Anthony? Okay. So,
I have no proprietary holding on.
okay. Are there any updates?
There are no updates, but I don't know if I gave you the source code with that.
I don't know, but
I think I have it with me today. Good. Find me later.
there you go. So anyway, so this is what the disk manager shows you, and then if you find a file like, find me a TR basic file. It's going to be X-Late. Okay, so there was the guy who wrote this program for Micropendium, and it seemed to be really useful. So at the time we delivered it. But you see what we started from? We started from the catalog like that, and then by clicking on the catalog listing, right, we were able to render this TI Basic. But we can also do other really smart things down here. We can search this file. We could also turn on numbers, line numbers. We can turn on headers, but we can also do what's that thing where you break the file into tokens? Whether it's John, I did it in 99 magazine, but we can break this file back into tokens to show you exactly how the thing is stored on disk. And we can also search for all the TI Basic keywords. Having said that, where is it? What's this crossref? Is this on?
See over here.
Is that it? Okay, so you see here, the variable A is used in line 10, blah, 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 blah. So you can track all your, I mean, yeah, this is the equivalent of the programming aids 1, 2, and 3 stuff. Remember that stuff? See, I gave you these really clunky utilities, and you could run them against the stuff, and you could see the thing here. But here you can see it instantly, and it's actually useful. I actually.
Or the appendages at the end of an EA file when you're assembling on.
Oh yeah. Just miss these 6 spaces. I actually use this, and believe it or not, and I use it for one huge reason, in that often I get files that people send me that have bad code, and so or no, actually, there's worst case. I go to the newsletter that somebody has got something in, and they've written it. They've written a basic program, and they've written it with the program is fine, but they've written the program with the output has gone to the, what do you call it, that type, like it's like superscript type first of all, right? So the type thing shrinks down to this part. Then they run it through 400 copies of the rodeo machine, right? And now all the E's and the F's and things are filled in. You can hold, and I mean, where's my pair of eyes? She's over there. Every time, I mean, the number of times I called my wife into the room and said, "Can you read this line?" And we suckled and sorry, it's a bad word. And we tried to read this, and we tried, and eventually we just half give up and do the best we can. So then what happens is we run this. Now, if you see a variable, called like A, and then you see like AJK else, it's like it's usually it's like an indicator. It's a danger sign that you should probably see if this is really that name of that variable. So it really helps a lot. So, and if you knew how to do it, which I've forgotten, you can actually disassemble code here and do all kinds of other stuff. Check these. So render is supposed to, actually, hang on, there's a graphic here. Isn't there a P file for the, who was the people? So which comes first, the P or the C?
Oh, no, those are D.
The pixel file is first, right? Huh? Where's the artist? Artist on here? This will be an artist file somewhere, surely.
Yeah, I'm not seeing
What's this?
Minimum.
I'm losing them. Oh, I can't find the stupid thing. But anyway, if you have a TI artist file on here, it'll render the file for you and show you the file in the tree, what the contents of the file are and stuff like that. Kind of nice. Also, it'll do the mini memory and stuff. So, if you have mini mem files, we give you the third correction of the mini memory assembler and loader, right? Because if you look at first of all, if you look at the original manual, they're just out-and-out errors. And somebody corrected those, and somebody found something else, and and so the mini memory thing has to load with the 7dog00, whatever it is. So we give you the choice. We give you mini mem 1, mini mem 2, mini mem 3. So you can say what you want to do. Okay. And then finally, so I'm going to find this one thing. Keep them busy. Where am I going? Snake source, where's snake source? Yeah. Snake source, vendors, TI. PHM 3063. Yeah.
That's 3093.
Where's 3063?
63 is up there.
I think this is it. Is it the bad click or is it just me? Oh, here it is. Yeah. Okay. And then, you know, there are people that publish lists of modules and blah, 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 and this module is rare, and this module is whatever. But I would like to promote this as maybe the rarest module. So just the other day, so you know TI produced modules in Holland, right? At a place called Almelo. Where's here's my translator. And what happened is some of those didn't make their way across here, or they were intended strictly for European market. And one of the modules they produced was a thing called the Advertiser, and it also was called InfoSpot. And this is the gentleman that allocated the PHM number because he found it on a box, and nobody else knows about this, but it will be in the psych soon. And what happens is this module was designed to be what you would call a point of sale device. So in other words, you'd walk into the store and there'd be, hey, idiot, buy this TI. Hey, I am the one, but now I'm in jail, but it's okay. And then you can look at all this, you can prepare these graphics and do all this other stuff, right? And it's a point of sale thing, like to make your TI sell, and people say, oh, I want to buy one of those. How much is it? Oh, too much. So what we did is we showed you how to load it. You have to do a call files 9, do that every day, right? And then after that, you go back to the selection screen, and what do you get? Nada, right? You get nada. But the module has been loaded and it's active. And what it is, do you remember the articles on the secrets of personal record keeping? Who remembers that?
Oh, yes.
There you go.
They're
And
also in
stats. But so this is a huge topic in England for a while. The secrets of personal. So that they added certain calls that you could take from TI Basic, and what this module is. These things down here you can do to make those displays, and when you do them, you end up with things that look like this. Ich bin ein neuer Texas Instruments, right? And down here, and then down here, and then for me, the PC de Resistance. Here's a picture of the actual module. I've never seen this until about 10 days ago. This is an original Advertiser module. Okay. And there's some guy in the room here somewhere who actually has one of these, and it's left to me in his will. Okay, so that's the product called CAD PC99 Suite. And are there any questions? You have a question?
You have a question, Caesar?
Mike, what is the position of the older owners of the suit and the stick? Can we change that for an extra to the new version?
Yes. If as you are obviously not a member of the PCNW group,
I am.
You are.
Not for a group, no.
Oh.
Not from the Yahoo group.
What can I say? It's all available. It's sitting out there waiting for you to go.
I go there. How do I get there?
How do you get where? It's Yahoo 99 PC 99W groups or something. But you have to, the way the Yahoo groups work, you have to be invited. So what you need to do is send me an email saying, oh, I finally want to do this. And I will then, I don't know how the other side works. I just know that I go to the group page and I say, send this to your email address. You get that and you say that, and you remember. And then from there you can find the FTP site. You get the latest version of this and any updates and things like that. And you can make comments.
New information, exactly.
Okay, I'm going to show you one last thing. And then are you all sated or? Question?
Question. So I get asked this every year at Midwest Gaming Classic. Is there a European cover to Car Wars? And do you have the covers to the Car Wars manual?
30 what?
Apparently it's some really dramatic artwork to the French or German version of the Car Wars module.
Do you know?
I have the cartridge. I also have the manual, Eric.
Okay, well.
Do you know the PHM number?
So it's only been seen on eBay once ever, and people ask me about it every year.
Well, this is the year. PHX lists where?
Car Wars.
PHX lists.
PHL.
X lists. PHX. Yeah. Okay, so if you're like me and you can't remember every single what's name, you can go to the magic file called PHX lists, and you can search for Car Wars, and we find out that it's 3054, right? PHM 3054. Agreed?
Yep.
Okay. Where am I? Yeah. I used to be faster than this. PHM.
Yep. Right there. PHL.
Yeah. 3054.
All the top screen.
Oh,
Really?
that's a 54C and a 54.
Okay. Okay. In answer to your question, are you referring to the Canadian version or the European version?
That's even better. I'd like to see all three.
Let's have a look here first. So this is Car Wars we know and love. Euro version, I mean the US version, right?
Yep.
And that's it. Oh, man, it's going to take me. I think the word is, I have no French. I think it's what, bolidus?
Bolide, yeah.
Bolide, is that how you say it?
Scroll down one.
Where? Oh. Okay, so C and...
C is the Canadian one.
C is the Canadian one. For this. That's a CAD designation for these things. So V,
Yep.
Car Wars, yeah. I'm sorry, oui.
C'est ça, monsieur.
I got zero French.
Yes, scroll down.
So,
There's the dramatic cover you're looking for.
Okay.
what do you think?
That's the one.
All available with the aid of money.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
And we have to find the extra double blocky one. I don't know why the Europeans did that. Where is it?
And then down to the bottom again. And E.
Where? E?
There.
Did I do it?
Down one, right there.
Where?
That one.
And here's the other one. This
Now,
is the official
one you
European.
saw that was the Canadian cover also exists as a European cover with the multilingual top piece as a single, similar to all of the other European color covers, where it just says one line is in English, one line is in French. But it also exists. I have both.
And by the way, you haven't asked the question, why are there two? Because one has and one doesn't. So now you see. Oh. Any other questions?
Says I had to step out for a bit, but in the intro to PC99, I heard a mention of a hardware board for PC99. Is that yet to be discussed? Did I miss it, or did I miss
No,
here?
next demo, pay attention.
It's coming.
So tell us, what do? You text them?
You're talking to me.
Oh, talk. Next demo. Don't go away. Any other questions, guys? This is from my point of view, this is a fairly stable product. Doesn't require much in terms of looking after and stuff. I think it's a really nice. The emulation is good. Does all sorts of stuff. Tons of stuff in here. Okay. Why isn't this thing showing all these icons here? Where's the power down?
Right there. You want me to do it? Right there.
Shut down? Okay. So, again, I apologize for the stuff, but I probably won't be able to come to the fair anymore. So, hope you enjoyed.
What about your hardware product?
That's not me. I can't do that crap.
That's Eric's. I guess Eric's right. The microphone
Well, thank you for that excellent demo. It has elicited a number of questions online as well, and some of which we were able to answer. But Mike, we're going to have you look in the chat room here and answer a few, maybe type them out. We're going to take a break for a couple of minutes while we do some hardware changes, and then we will have the next demo. Eric, how do you pronounce your last name? Firestone. Firestone. Eric Firestone. Ooh, we'll be doing his demo in just a couple of minutes, but we have to switch tables around, so don't go too far away.
Hey, Jim.
While we have a break in the action, I want to remind everybody, oops, I guess we don't have to remind everybody at home.
Use the wireless mic and then
Yeah.
you can hear that in there.
Okay, just hold on.
Plug it here.
I want to remind everybody that the door to the garage downstairs will come down at 6 o'clock and won't come up again until noon tomorrow. So if you have to feed a meter, by the way, this is a town that loves to give you parking tickets, so if you've got a car downstairs or in the back lot or anywhere around here, and a meter, you better feed it because they're not kidding. They do give tickets. And another reminder about where we're going to go right after the meeting. Some people are coming late. We have our banquet at Panera, which is about 2 blocks to the west from here. And we will leave at about the time the meeting is over, the time the fair ends. We'll meet over there and you get your food at the front desk and we're going to go back into the back room. Anybody not know where the back room is? Okay, I don't see any hands, so I guess everybody knows where it is. If not, just follow somebody, and they'll be more than happy to show you where the back room is after you get your food. And there we will be presenting the awards and doing the jury work for the Rod Temple Award, where we split up into groups of 3 or 4 and look at each TI website. There are 4 of them this time we're judging. For a couple of minutes, about 10 minutes at the most, and then write down our findings, and Barry will total them up and pick the winner. So we would definitely like to have everybody participate in that. The more people, the better it is. Does anybody have any questions about anything in Evanston? Yes. I can answer a couple of questions if we have some questions about that, about what's going on around here with the construction. If you are staying in a hotel tonight in Evanston, tomorrow morning I have to make a speech in Veterans Plaza. If anybody wants to come and hear a speech about World War I, it'll be taking place just about a block south of here in Veterans Plaza at Fountain Square. I make 2 speeches every year. I'm the president of a veterans organization called Be It Now, and so they asked me to make a short speech. I promise it'll be a short speech because it's going to be cold and windy out there tomorrow. And I'm always the last speaker for some reason. And so I'll be more than happy to make a very short speech and everybody get out of there. At 10:30, again, if anybody's interested, if anybody's a veteran and would like to participate in that, we always have a pretty good crowd. So how are we coming with the setup?
Just about.
We're just about ready to go?
5 minutes probably.
Okay, another couple of minutes and we'll be done. So if anybody's got any bathroom break or get a drink or something, now's the time to do it.
Hey, why don't we bring the hammer? Why don't we bring the hammer? Someday when I have rights on oh dear. Yeah. What's that? What's that? Yeah, no, I'm close. Should be up there. Yeah, that's the one there. Most of that year. Are you saying yeah, they didn't want to say.
The one you saw a picture of.
Is there a count?
I don't think it's.
Yeah, but you count the number of people there, and I'll compare that to the number of people signed in, and I'll chase them around.
Arrested.
That's it. Put them in handcuffs.
27 for us.
Counting the two, that's only 2, right? Yeah. 2 million. That's out.
I got pictures of these.
Who has to sign in? I just saying, I see you're guilty looking face over here. Have you signed in yet? Come on over and sign. You signed in yet?
I'm going to, I promise. Yeah, hop on twice, it looks good. Yeah, we can do that, and as a matter of fact, you can actually a thing where you can actually have people donate. So, there's these dudes that get in there, play video games, and they have a super chat, and you have somebody give cash, that's when I want to give them a shout out. Let's make in my case, I think it's for streaming.
Are you kidding? No?
It's nice to have those.
I would rather have things attached to places rather than use accounts that may or may not be a family. This might be sort of a stopgap measure, so that there's some information somewhere on the internet. I don't know what happened to the machine crashed. That was right.
Two of the margins in each one.
That's what he was using it for business. We had patents.
But I do. I started it like 6 months ago. It's not. I mean, what he's setting up here is really. Yes.
It said this accessory may not be supported. Ryan said dismiss, so I dismissed it. Because obviously it's working.
Candy.
Yeah, okay. We're right now in the process of doing some hardware change, in case you just signed in. We'll be having another demo in just a moment as soon as we get ready.
I did. Because what I'll do is when I get home, I will put them up on our page since it's listed as out of stock. That'll probably be the first of those.
Everybody's got a camera.
The record board, you mean? Record.
It's my favorite keyboard. It's not yours.
You know about that?
Yeah, it's got
Actually, it's not my favorite keyboard. Why?
Oh, the original, yeah.
So things like acoustic
Some of the things you can do with this.
most of them.
About ready? Yep. Okay. Let me corral them.
Okay, if everyone could please take their seat up here, we're ready for the next demo. This will be Eric Firestone, and he's going to tell you what it's all about as soon as everybody sits down. Jim and Jim, join us. Anybody else want a front row seat? They're going fast.
All right. Can everybody hear?
Not quite yet. I'm not here, and you're not mic'd up. So we'll get you clicked on here. And you're ready to go.
All right, so after writing a PC99W, I was thinking to myself, I would really love to have this in real hardware. So I looked at what I could get. I can't get a V9938 card anymore. I can't get a hard drive. So what I decided to do is put a 20 megabyte hard drive, an EMS card, a V9938, and all the things that I couldn't get on a board. So that's what you're looking at here. So essentially this is the board. This is a bare board. The way this is designed, you can plug a peripheral expansion box into it, and if you have it selected in an INI file to emulate the device, you don't need a peripheral expansion box. All you need is this board. If you do plug a peripheral expansion box in and you don't select the device in the INI file, it can talk externally to the peripheral expansion box and use the real hardware. Essentially, this, you can call it an emulator, but in reality, it's a replacement board for the TI. It does everything the TI would do and then some, and it has everything that you would ever want on the TI. This is a picture of the fully populated board. It has a VGA output. The keyboard, the mouse is actually emulated the exact same way the V9938 did the mouse. It uses an SD card for for virtual files for a hard drive and for floppy drives. The INI file lives on the SD card as well. It has in the lower right-hand corner of the board, you can see a jack. That's for the speaker or audio. The audio that's emulated is a SID sound chip, the normal TI sound, and the speed synthesizer. It has RS-232 on board. This is an early version of it. This is a STM micro discovery board. And my first port of the emulator was to this, but obviously this was way too slow to do everything in the correct timing for the TI. So what I ended up doing is using 4 microcontrollers. Going back to the board, the ARM processor in the center of the board towards the bottom is actually emulating the 9900, a TMS 9901, and has all the interfaces to the SD card for the hard drives, floppy drives, that sort of thing. The processor to the right is emulating sound. The SID chip, the sound, uses a single sound buffer with mixers in it. The interface to the soundboard itself, there's actually 2. One's a parallel interface that's coming off of the first ARM chip. And then the second interface is a serial peripheral interface, which is used for the TI sound. It could have all been done through a single serial interface, but I figured I had the extra I/O pin, so I just did it that way. The ARM processor right above the large ARM processor on the bottom is used to emulate the V9938. Each of the processors has a single USB port on it. Unfortunately, the one processor above the one emulating sound is only being used for a joystick port. In the center of the board, where you see all the holes, I don't know if you can see it very well, but it actually has a cartridge port on it as well, so you can plug real cartridges in or a real peripheral expansion box. These are some pictures of some of the things that run on the emulator. Has a 1 megabyte Super AMS card built in. This is graphics mode 4 in a utility program that I wrote to demonstrate how you could do Windows-style user interfaces. This one here just basically monitors the keyboard, and it will print ASCII text in the edit box. The mouse, it shows you which mouse button you've pressed. Joysticks, it shows you which direction that you're running. On the very bottom where it says play sound and speech test, just does a simple test of both of those. The features of the board: one 20 megabyte hard drive, which is based on the Therinos Pico IDE drive, two 1 megabyte SAMs, or number two, 1 megabyte SAMs memory, RS-232 serial port, 4 floppy disk drives, a V9938 video processor, VGA monitor output, USB keyboard, mouse, and joystick, and the peripheral expansion box and cartridge port. This is a file management utility. So when you're essentially running the emulator, it operates like a TI-99. If you want to manage the files that are on the SD card, you don't have to take the system apart. You can use this utility and it will pull up the files on the disk and allow you to transfer the file from the SD card internal to the PC and then back again. So you can modify your INI file or put additional disks and cartridges on the system. The INI file is compatible with PC99W, as are all the other files. So if you have cartridge files and that sort of thing, same format, same files, you just put them on the SD card and they're ready to be emulated. The product will probably ship with everything already loaded on the SD card. The utility there's actually a configuration utility that you can get to by pressing F12 on the keyboard. That utility allows you to select any disk that you want or any cartridge that you want that's already on the system. Now there will be one that's defaulted in the INI file, so that one will come up first. That's the first one that you'll see when you press the space bar. If you want additional ones, you can press F12 or you can modify the INI file, whatever you choose to do. So the special features: all known TI modules and cartridges on built-in SD card. F12 opens a configuration utility to select disks and cartridges. The MOS 6581 for C64 type sound. My emulation is probably not the best, but it's also not the worst. It's not a terrible emulation. I'll let you hear it shortly. The TMS 5220A speech synthesizer chip, the 9919 sound on board. The 9901 timer is fully functional. You can use it in your own programs. And all instructions of the TMS 9900 are implemented. The 9938 I've implemented I would say I've implemented every feature that's on it. Now the difference between the 9938 and the F18A are that the 9938 has built-in commands to allow you to do hardware acceleration type functions. Like if you wanted to do a set pixel, get pixel, draw a line. On the F18A, it's a little bit different. And a lot of people have probably seen this, and I need to get permission from the original author to distribute it, but if I do, it'll be free. But it's basically a Windows implementation of Blue Wizard, which is a vocoder application that allows you to generate LPC code for the speech synthesizer on the TI. This is just a picture of it operating with a 10-inch LCD display, which shows the possibility of a TI laptop. And here's the big question. So currently, the price that we have right now is $799.95, and that includes the case, the speaker, the power supply, and you have to supply the keyboard, mouse, joystick, and your VGA monitor. And it'll also have a speaker in the case. And with tariffs and other things that are going on in circuit board, buying Chinese boards and things like that, it's very difficult to get this board, the manufacturing costs down on it to the point that we could offer it at a better price. But there is one thing to think about with this. So if you bought an F18A, you bought a Super AMS card, you've got $200 right there. If you buy, of course you'll have to buy a TI, a peripheral expansion box, and a few other things. You could easily get to your $800 price, but in this case, everything's included for $800. And that's about it.
Does it have a parallel port?
I want to put a parallel port on it, but I didn't because the way the board is arranged, I originally made the board so that you could actually put it inside the TI console. And the holes that are in this board mount up to the mounting holes that are in the TI console. So that's why there's not a parallel port on it. But yes, a parallel port could have been put on the board easily.
Question, you mentioned that you'll be including modules and so forth there.
Mm-hmm.
Are the ROMs on the original TI console, are those loadable on the SD drive, or so that if somebody wanted to modify the TI system to behave a little differently, replace the TI operating system, so to speak? Is that possible?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The OPA card, the OPA stuff,
Have a what?
the OPA.
Gary Bowser's different from Zero.
Okay.
What you thinking of?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm just wondering if somebody wanted to completely redesign the TI system, if that would afford them the opportunity to redesign.
Yes, absolutely. Because all of those ROM modules and things like that are on the SD card. So all you have to do is just replace them with whatever you want. Any other questions?
Said the 9938. So I have experience programming with 9938 on the Geneve. When you said you emulated, do you aim for getting the timing exactly the same as the real chip, or would you make the hardware acceleration, like move a portion of the screen, get that going faster than the original?
My emulation may be a little bit faster than the original. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but when you see that actually, well, interrupts are turned off at that point. So, but I mean, the rendering of those screens is pretty quick. And actually, in this case, I'm using Super AMS memory, moving a bitmap into it, and then I switch the I move the screen from AMS memory back to the video display. But it's going pretty quick.
Yeah. Not necessarily referring to just loading a bitmap into VDP memory, but
The hardware acceleration.
Yeah, like the block move.
Right, so when it gets to the right screen. So these are line drawing functions, the commands. But I mean, you can pretty well see how fast it's running. But as far as trying to make it work exactly the same speed as the original 9938, I probably won't. I'll probably just leave it as fast as it'll go. I don't know if that's a problem or...
So I got one other question on your video output. You said your video output can be set for VGA, correct?
It is VGA. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep.
That's pretty much what I thought.
Yep.
I wanted to make sure that that was what it was set for and what it's doing. So,
Yeah.
Bob Carmody, I think your new toy has been created.
Now, one thing that could be done is to modularize the system, and that gives other possibilities for like other people's hardware being able to be plugged into, like if you wanted an F18A, for instance, and let's say that Matthew doesn't want us to implement that on here. He could actually sell a board for this if we modularized it. At this point, there's no real plans to modularize it, but it's just an option that we could go with in the future.
Okay, you said that the B2B's got 192K
Yes.
on it, and
Yep.
you're implementing the IDE version with a 20 meg hard drive?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
So you said you can connect the PEP to this, right?
Mhm. Well, you will be able to with an opto-isolator board that'll be an option that you can buy. The reason we want to do that is because if there's anything wrong with the peripheral expansion box, it could damage that board.
Sure.
And actually the board in general, all the logic on it is 3.3 volt. And it uses level translators on board to translate to 5 volts for the TI stuff.
But with the PEP connected, like I should be able to run like a P-code card?
Absolutely. But actually you'll be able to emulate the P-code card as well.
Sure. But if I do want to run...
If you wanted to run the real one, yes, that's true.
Okay.
And I did that because maybe you want to plug an EEPROM programmer into it, or you want to, anything you want to do, you should be able to do with this.
Okay.
I heard maybe two versions of the same. Is the connector on the side ready to accept a PEB, or you said you need
Well,
an isolator?
you need an isolator.
Okay.
Yeah. Theoretically, it's mapped the same, but I would prefer to have it. I will probably make it so that it's a different connector on another version of this board so that nobody will accidentally plug a PEB into it.
So what happens if you look at the connector right now? Is it 3.3 volts? Or?
No, it's a 5 volt connector. It's right. I mean, yeah. Yep.
I don't know if you mind sharing, what are the ARM chips that you
Yeah, those are
go up to?
yeah,
Like
STM
how
30.
powerful?
Yeah, they're STM32F7s. They run at 216 megahertz each. They have 168K of onboard memory, and they have 1 megabyte of flash. They have an H7 out now that runs at 400 megahertz, which is pin compatible with one of the chips the chips I have on here. So for a super fast TI, I might try that.
Thanks.
You say you're going to actually demo the system? So you're actually going to demo the use?
Yeah, I can demo the SID chip if you'd like to hear that.
Might want to put just a little bit higher, Eric, so that
Oh.
Perfect.
All right. And actually, on a real TI, I think I'd still be waiting for that screen to come up. So. Well, there you have it.
Eric?
Yes.
I believe it's Alexander Multi Road program, I think it's GAP, that would run on the.
9938. Uh-huh.
9930. Have you tested that out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, do I have that on there or not? I think I do. Anyway, to get to the utility program, you would press F12, and then like to select a disk, you would go here. And I don't know if you noticed, but these are sort of like Windows controls, and they're not totally. This is actually running a V9938, but it's using ARM code to talk to it right now. So I kind of hijacked the video display to display that. Let's see if YAP is on here. So YAP actually has an extended basic loader, so I'll go ahead and use that. Oh. Maybe the loader isn't on here. There it is.
Maybe like hit L, maybe for like a line and draw.
Yeah, isn't there a color bar that shows at the bottom in that program?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember. It's been a while since I've used it.
What if you move the mouse?
The mouse driver isn't loaded on this version of it, but I think this... I'm not sure what version I actually have on here, but... So, any other questions?
Did I understand you say correctly that you could emulate the P-code card in the system?
Yeah, right now that, I mean, you'd have to change the INI file to do that for one, and that particular module's not compiled into this version yet, but it will be.
It's an amazing piece of work.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, can we see your PC board just for?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
If we mess around? Thank
Sure.
you.
One thing that you might want to look at on the PC board, there's tuning that goes into SD card, the trace links, and that's all been done on there. That is a royal pain to do. And actually at 100 megahertz, I probably wouldn't have had to have done that, but I did it anyway just to be sure. I wasn't about to take a chance on that not coming up when I got it.
So you're using the 4-wire SPI interface to the SD, or?
Yeah, it's a actually it's the 4-wire parallel, yes.
Yeah,
the full speed.
SD card spec.
Yes.
Yeah, not just the cheap.
Right,
free
yeah.
one.
Well, STM implemented it in hardware on their system, so I used it.
Sorry. I was asking Eric how, if he implemented the full SD card specification. Confirmed, yeah. That's why it requires extra care.
Well, I was referring to the SD-RAM, actually, with the trace link tuning.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. I didn't know it did. Okay. So Mike just mentioned that anybody that buys this particular product automatically gets the psych with it and PC99W the whole show. That's a $49 value.
So on testing this, have you tested a wide variety of programs that we used to use? Any particular ones stand out for differences?
Well, let me think.
Telco, fast term.
Telco tested works with the R2 stuff. Fast-gen obviously. I mean, in general, when the new version is released, there's sort of a fairly generalized testing, I think, in terms of modules. So it's very quick to test modules when you just test one or the other thing that can come up. We also have to do the documentation, and that takes a little bit longer. And documentation against testing against the product. But almost all the peripherals, like for example, your test memory, your test SAM's memory, signature memory, you test the 9918, stuff like that, and test sound, obviously, and then try to load stuff like FB4, P codes, and all. Something you would think would be hard or relatively unusual. Also, old TR bases, new TR, new all this stuff. Test all this stuff. It's just, test.
So I have tested Terminal Emulator 2 on that quite extensively.
Speech quality.
Oh, yeah, let me.
And also what happens is CAD publishes a bug list. And if you go to the PC99W user site, right, there's a list of things or issues there. We list all the problems that we know about. We have two rather interesting problems. Both have to do with the VDP. And one of them is the turtle in logo 2 does not display properly. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And also in the key to Spanish, that's this well-known everyday use module. Key to Spanish on the third screen, there's a ghost artifact that appears above it.
Did you hear it? No.
We also have a long documented bug, and that is in the HFTC emulation, because part of the product is the HFTC itself, including the manual and of course everything else. And there's one case where we try to write from the HFTC to a floppy, and something trashes. So those are all bugs that are in the bug list that are all being worked on. Now, the other thing we didn't mention, I don't think, as I was sort of reflecting here now, is
there's a debugger included with PC99W. You hit an F12 key or whatever, you hit an N key, and you're into a debugger, and you can start a process on it and stuff. And we were actually trying to use this the other night to do stuff, so that's part of the emulator as well, just there. I also wanted to show somebody the piece in a DOS debugger, which is still available, which is still there too. And in the particular thing, we were trying to look at the logo module, and we found that after you type tell turtle, it jumps to somewhere around 3.8 Charlie, 3.5 Charlie. And we were trying to debug the thing in there. Well, it writes the 58 and the 78 to address 37 Charlie in the memory. And that's the actual pattern, the starting pattern for the actual turtle. And what we can do with the DOS debugger is we can say, when somebody writes to 37, when somebody writes as hex 58 to 37 Charlie, break. And it broke. And then steps to the code and see what goes on. And that's actually quite hard to do. And you can also set it as a specific number. You can say, if anybody changes 37 Charlie, break. And so you can do stuff like that. The bugger is really, I think, really, really good.
So, any other questions?
Does it treat the ROM as truly ROM, or does it treat it as, you've got the ROMs loaded, but are they set up as a ROM, or are they set up as a RAM?
No.
Yeah, they're set up as a ROM because you cannot write over that memory. Yes.
But you can change them and then.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So where's the problem?
I'm not saying there's a problem.
No, I'm saying there's a problem. The problem is stupid mini memory, because half of it is ROM and half of it's RAM. So normally you'd load something at 6,000, it would be all RAM, right? The stupid mini memory says, no, my bottom 4K, I'm wrong. So special bloody coding has to be put into that junk.
Any other questions? I'd just like to see it run a few games, that's all.
All right. So this system over here has a game already running on it, but no speaker attached. So I will attach a speaker to it. You can play it if you like.
No, I'm not. My primary interest is just timing,
Right.
making sure that all the timing is there.
Yeah.
See, I beat the game in one shot.
Well, we can either see you or we can see the game.
Well, you're gonna see me. Come around the other side. No, I'm good. I saw what I needed. All right. That's it. Just do that. Oh.
Can you tell me more about the timetable you have in mind?
For a release of the product,
For all the steps after this one?
let me.
Yeah, you are the expert.
So USB is hot pluggable, so you can.
On this, is it? Yeah, I assume you do all the emulation down to CRU bits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
question was, can you tell me more about the timetable, the steps that come after this one?
Buy this right now. The way that we're going to work that is if we do an upgrade on it, it requires 4 chips to be reprogrammed. And you can send the board back at just the cost of sending the board back, and we'll reprogram everything for no additional charge.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out which buttons are what.
Okay. I think it's one of the, or maybe that one.
Just moved.
That doesn't seem like it's working.
There it goes.
That's a glitch.
Well, it's actually not in the emulator. I think it's the joystick itself. Because I've played this and it was quite responsive. Yeah, it's the joystick that's doing that, because now it's seems to be working.
Well, you're on Facebook now, on the TI group on Facebook, the whole.
All right.
Well, Eric, thank you for a very, very
What's
interesting
that?
demo.
That is great.
And while
That's
there's
the
still
first big,
structure in the room,
re-release of the TI in a long time.
how about a hand for Eric Firestone? Eric will be around for a few minutes to answer any questions, and in the meanwhile, I would like to remind everybody once again about the door coming down in the garage. If you're parked out there, if you're parked in the back lots with our meters, don't forget to feed the meters, because your ticket will be your souvenir from Evanston, Illinois. And
Park in the public parking garage.
yeah, park in the public parking garage. And for those of you who are watching overseas, this next part does not apply to you, so you should try and come next year on November the 2nd, when the 37th edition of the fair is going to take place. But for those of you who are here tonight, we do have the banquet, which will start. We'll start breaking down anytime now, and we'll all try and get over there about 4:30 or so, occupy the back room, and be there for dinner and for the presentation and for the jurying of the Rob Templeman Plot Award. After that, I would be remiss if I didn't remind everybody about the infamous pub crawl. The infamous pub crawl is a Evanston tradition after the fair, after the banquet. And last year, if you remember, we were almost rained out. We weren't. We were almost drowned out, actually, because a lot of us got very, very wet. And I see some people who aren't here this year, and I certainly hope they didn't succumb to pneumonia. At any rate,
we are going to have a infamous pub crawl. We'll go to several different places. There's one place in particular tonight that we've never been before that I think you might find very interesting. It's brand new. There's a place that has 50 beer taps, and you pay by the ounce. So you can have 50 ounces of 50 different beers if you want to. You can try them all. Again, they charge you by the ounce. So you go up and it's like one of those ice cream stores where they give you frozen custard and you can choose what kind you want and they charge you by the ounce too there, I guess. At any rate, it will be one of those things that will be new to us. We've never been there before. In fact, it's only a couple months old. There are some places that we've been that we know, World of Beer, other places like that we will be going. Some of the places we've gone in the past are no longer there. Prairie Moon, Tommy Nevins, places like that have been torn down and they're building a new building there. But we'll find all kinds of places that we can go to and enjoy. In the meanwhile, we've got about 40 minutes or so before we have to be out of here. So take some time to talk to the people, see some of the tables that you might not have seen so far. Don't forget to visit Owen, buy one of his cassettes, go over to Bob Carmody, get some chips burned, visit Lee, get a copy of FB Fourth and buy a manual. Who else is? Go and talk to Eric and Mike and put in a bid for an order for their products. Back in the back, Jim Fetzner has cartridges for sale. And let's see, anybody else have? Vic?
He's got Sam's boards back there.
Vic, what have you got? Vic has got something, I think. Just demonstrations. Okay, he's a demonstration over there. It's a little hard to pick up that P box and move it. I guess that's about it. We will sort of wind down here online. There's not much more to show. We have had a couple of presenters had technical problems, unfortunately, and won't be able to do their demos. But we will hopefully have them back next year to finish those demos. So that's about it for me for right now. Thanks everybody for coming. Please sign in if you haven't already. We'd like to keep an accurate count of how many people are here, and I know we've got more than 21 people here and have more than had 21 people during the day. So that's about it. Bye from the 36th edition of the Chicago TI International World Fair.
Thanks, Al.
Okay.
I like that Kindle. I used to have one just like this.
This is one of the ones with its own
Give it another 5 minutes just to see the group.
which I think is very cool.
I've been wanting to meet you for a lot of years, but I'm fortunate. My name's Owen.
I know.
I've been watching you. I got all your
Watching me? Oh my
absolutely.
God.
Wow. I've been watching the history from the 80s all the way forward. I've got all your scans for Mike Benjamin and all that other stuff.
Okay.
All the Lima user group discs, I've got them all archived. It's very cool stuff.
I just gave my brain. She was talking about some of them that that
Phone and on my radio.
hadn't been copied. And so I just got a bunch of the
Batteries in there. Can I substitute night pads for your
Yeah, well, it's, I mean, I had those kicking around my house for years and no one had asked for them. So it's nice that someone's.
I know that on the charger.
Anything that's not already recovered.
There is a different setting for the two.
I mean, there's some that I deliberately did not digitize because of software that other people
Is there
sell.
any reason why I couldn't just plug in a normal
I don't
charger?
think that was appropriate. interfere with their ability to keep up.
Sure.
Most are nickel metal hydride.
That's good stuff.
That's pretty much
And,
endless.
as long as you're not.
Yeah, not a lot of big TI vendors out there anymore, huh?
Not a lot, no.
Electrical charge.
And on my game, stuff when I'll sell them for a couple of weeks and then I'll just release it.
And, so I would be charging at less than their rated capacity.
Yeah, there's no reason.
I'd be charging.
I don't think there's anybody still left who was in
So charge a prescription.
Yeah, you might be able to, I would try it, but I would not leave it charging unattended.
I suspect you're right.
Mark Hull, actually, you can still buy copies of his games and they're not released online.
Oh, okay.
I think that's it.
So I've been coming to these shows for pretty steadily for 30 years.
I didn't see you last year. You weren't here last year, were you?
I think I was.
Were you? Huh. Guess we just didn't have an opportunity to chat. You still down, where are you down in Illinois or Ohio?
I'm at Lima, Ohio.
Still in the same place?
The same general area, yeah. I'm still teaching. I'm still a professor.
That's awesome.
OSU Lima. So 44th year started in September.
I've been married longer than he's been.
Is that right?
Congratulations.
I've been married 47 years.
You guys go back though, right? Everybody kind of knows each other from back in the day.
I think it started getting old.
Yeah, taking
I think it came from a couple of fairs. Used to have a fair, Chicago Fair and Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Two-fer.
We've actually been talking about putting the Milwaukee group back together. There's a few of us up there.